Hello and welcome back to another video on the wrestling and another edition of Smackdown Out of 10. We're fresh off the Rumble, and while Roman Reigns has already declared his intention to challenge Punk at WrestleMania, Liv Morgan hasn't announced her pick heading into the show. The Rumble also saw the debut of Royce Keys. He didn't show up on Raw, so there's question marks over whether he saw her up on SmackDown, and there's much more going on in the show. Starting off with a recap and the usual shots of superstars arriving as Drew made his way to the ring. Before Drew could actually get to the ring, Cody attacked him from behind and began beating him up until security separated them. The American Nightmare grabbed a mic and cut a scathing promo on the man who eliminated him from the Rumble. After vaguely claiming to have a large penis for some reason, Rhodes ended the promo and stared at the WrestleMania sign, knowing his path to the event was unclear. An energetic way to kick off the show with a little action and promo that didn't last longer than necessary. This got the crowd hot for the show, definitely. As we moved on to our first match, which was Rio versus James and Julia. After Nick Aldis was shown asking Rose to leave the arena for his own good, we went to the ring for this match. Ripley and James had a brief exchange before Julia tagged in and demanded Sky come into her face. The US champ won exchange of strikes and mocked the genius of Sky before the High Flyer made her pay for it. The women's tag division in WWE has a tendency to ebb and flow, but recent months have seen increased attention placed on the title thanks to a few high-profile stars being involved. Rio has been a great babyface team, and Julia and James have developed into a solid duo, even if Julia has booked more than James in the singles division. They gave the champs a good challenge this week. It had good energy from all four women. It was a pretty predictable outcome. A close call saw Rio get the win. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. We then got Carmelo Hayes versus The Miz. We thought we were going to see Ilya Dragunov challenge for the US title, but it ended up being The Miz following a backstage interaction. The A-lister went right after the champ once the bell rang. He looked more aggressive than he had in quite some time, but Melo didn't take too long before fighting back. The storyline between these two has gone on longer than it needs to, but adding Dragunov to the mix helped keep it fresh. These three men have fought several times in all the combinations, so it felt like a triple threat is inevitable. Melo's been fantastic as the US champion. He once again helped Miz put on one of his best performances recently. Hayes got the win, but both men came away looking great, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. As we moved on to Lash legend Chelsea Green and Tiffany Stratton battling out for a chance to be in the Elimination Chamber. Tiffany and Legend sent Green out of the ring and took care of Alpha Fire before they took the fight to each other. The former US champ recovered and ended up hitting a huge dive from the top ropes of the floor before Legend wiped her out with a big boot to send us to a break. All three women filled different roles in this match. Legend was a powerhouse heel, Stratton the babyface, and Green fell somewhere between. The crowd loves Chelsea, but she's getting great at letting them to cheer for her opponents too. This bout had some highlights, but it also had a few moments that weren't great. None of them ruined the match. In fact, the last couple of minutes were fun, and Stratton got the win with the prettiest moonsault ever. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. As we then moved on to Kit Wilson, he came to the ring and gave another promo about toxic masculinity, focusing on the Royal Rumble, and got the crowd to chant toxic every time he said it. He put out an open challenge to anyone who was in the Rumble with him, which was answered by Femi. The Ruler proceeds to decimate Wilson with a couple of moves to get the easiest win of his career. The match was so fast there's no way to really grade it. It was basically over in 2 moves, but it made Femi look like a bit of a killer, to be fair. Before Drew McIntyre came back out of the ring to give his promo another shot, before he could speak, Jacob Fatu attacked him from behind. He took the Scottish psychopath down with a huge suicide drive before taking out a bunch of security guards who tried to break up the fight. It was quicker than the fight between Rhodes and McIntyre earlier, and it didn't lead to Fatu giving a promo, but it was entertaining nonetheless. The champ should be a target for everyone on the roster, and WWE's done a good job establishing McIntyre as a man of many enemies. So yeah, it looks like we can really go in several different directions, which is good. As we then moved on to Tama Tonga and Nakamura facing off, obviously two men who have history back in New Japan. These two have had a handful of interactions recently to build up this showdown. Tonga has been in WWE for almost 2 years, but this might be the first time he's looked like a threat as a solo act. He has almost exclusively served as a henchman for Solo, so it's great to see him having his own chance, controlling Nakamura for most of the match and through the break. The King of Strong Style made a comeback when we returned, but he still had to worry about Tama's allies at ringside. Unfortunately, Mateo and Loa got involved and helped Tonga get a dirty win, which is easily his biggest win to date. Yeah, shame about the interference, but still a pretty fun match. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. As we then moved on to Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Cargill and Grace. Aldis welcomed Liv Morgan to the ring to talk about winning the Rumble. Raquel Rodriguez was aside, but the Judgment Day absent. She talked about having to pick between the two champs, but she said Mania is not the only thing in her mind. Raquel took the mic from her and she wanted to address the elephant in the room before Cargill's music hit, and before she could say anything, she warned Morgan against choosing her before getting Raquel's face. Jordan Grace joined the party, leading to Aldis booking a tag match, and Morgan and Rodriguez were both planted with spine busters by the powerhouses, who immediately began arguing about who would be the legal competitor. better. The segment that's led into the match was pretty standard stuff, but Morgan's energy helped to make it more entertaining. The fight that follows through a miscommunication lead to Rodriguez taking out Morgan with a big boot. Grace ended up getting a win for her team by pushing Raquel into Jade and then running out. While it wasn't a bad match, it didn't leave a lasting impression, I've got to say. Just a lot of arguments, really. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Moving on then to Randy Orton, Aleister Black and Solo Sikoa in an Elimination Chamber qualifier. But before that, Drew McIntyre finally got his promo and talks about feeling insulted by Roman and Punk, implying that his Punk's world title meant more. He gave a quick interaction with Trick Williams before leaving. Seems like that's the case, to be fair. Before we got onto that match for the Chamber qualifier, and they're 3 very different performers, but 3 talented enough to work with anyone. So yeah, it took no time to find their groove. The match followed a typical layout. We got to see every combination in one-on-one and sprinkles of all 3 going at it. There was no alliances, so it felt like no one's at a disadvantage, making it harder to predict. While it wasn't the best, it was still a good match. The Viper got the RKO on Sikoa to secure his route through. Probably the right result and a fun match. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. And that's what I'll give SmackDown overall as well. It's a good follow-up to the Royal Rumble. It did a good job, recapping and then also looking forward. However, the real attraction this week was how action-heavy it felt. Lots of matches. The women's division was highlighted well. Hayes and Miz had a good match. Rio v Julia and James was a close second. And I think, we're looking good for heading into Chamber.
This video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on our socials. Link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.